Investigating sickness in horses and nearby cattle with trypanosomiasis or Surra. In a rural farm setting, a horse presented with severe illness, including symptoms such as fever, lethargy, anorexia, and respiratory distress, anemia, weight loss, edema, weakness, neurological sign as incoordination, and jaundice, while cattle living nearby exhibited similar clinical signs. The environment around the farm was observed to have a substantial presence of a lot of flies. The horse and cattle showed the same clinical sign in severe illness with symptoms like fever, lethargy, anorexia, respiratory distress, anemia, weight loss, edema, weakness, neurological sign as incoordination, and jaundice. Differential diagnosis: babesiosis, trypanosomiasis, anaplasmosis, strongylosis. Laboratory analysis. In sample collection, that could be used for detection could be blood sample, serum, plasma, and tissue sample. Which diagnostic methods? The most common is fresh blood smear or Giemsa-stained thin blood smear, while microhematocrit centrifuge method also convenient as well. If you want a more specific method such as PCR, mice inoculation, or lamp could be applied as well. After all the lab was performed, the result came out with Trypanosoma positive. Life cycle. Trypanosoma or Surra is a mechanical vector, which could spread by either flies or contaminated equipment. After consideration, grazing ground and water sources aren't associated, judged by the vector of this parasite. Antipyrazole. The result of diagnostic tests, both the horse and cattle were found to have trypanosomiasis. We recommended using dimenazine acetrate-berynyl as an antipyrazole treatment, administered IM at a dosage of 3.5 milligrams per kilogram as a one-time. Said, the horse and cattle exhibited severe illness with symptoms such as fever, lethargy, and respiratory distress. Therefore, we will administer the NSAID flunixin meglumine miflixin. For horses, the dosage is 1.1 milligrams per kilogram for SID, and for cattle, the dosage ranges from 1.1 to 2.2 milligrams per kilogram IM SID for 3 days. If symptoms do not improve, the treatment can be extended for up to 5 days. Supportive care. And in this case, the animal showed signs of severe illness, lethargy, and fever that could lead to anorexia and dehydration, so supportive treatment should be considered. In case of anorexia, we can give butaphosphine and cyanocobalamin getosyl. The doses is 1 to 2 milliliters, 100 pounds body weight, give via SC, IM, or for 3 days, and if the volumes of more than 10 milliliters should be split and given at separate IM or SC. Correct dehydration. For dehydration, both a horse and a cattle, if they can drink by themselves, water PO would be great, but if not, for fluid should be performed by giving dextrose. Volume calculation must be included replacement deficit from percentage of dehydration, maintained by using the rate 50 milliliters per kilogram BW per day and 1 to 4 L day in ongoing fluid loss. But for cattle as a herd scale, increased water sources accessible for increased water intake is good and practical. Prevention, quarantine, pasture management, control vector, high hygiene. For prevention and control, if we find an infectious start with quarantine infectious animals and treatment. Control the vectors by using fly trap at the stall not to let the flies get in. Insecticide and avoid grazing in areas with high fly activity. For biosecurity plan to prevent the spread of disease within and between farms. The proportions are clearly arranged. Visitors should be limiting points of entry to the farm, and visitor entering areas must walk through disinfectant. Water management should not have access to water from canals and prevent being able to drink water of any kind. In plan quarantine, the area should be kept clean and animals of the same species live in the same area. Farm regularly is so important, should be maintained and checked, and should have areas the rest of the farm.